The Big Ten championship game. We'll send information out on that, as well as the Big Ten later this weekend once the opponent is determined. So each coach will go on Sunday, and then there'll be a few players that'll go on Monday afternoon as well. On Zoom. Both of those are on Zoom, Sunday and Monday. And then we will have our normal routine. We'll go back to 11 o'clock with players on Tuesday, and coach will go at 1:45. So those are kind of the updates heading into the weekend. So with that, we'll get with Coach Ferentz.
Thanks, Matt. Good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate the flexibility on schedules here. It's a little bit different kind of week for us, so appreciate you bending with that. I just want to start out, congratulate Tory Taylor on being Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week. Had another great performance. Has just had a tremendous year, so nice to see his efforts recognized. And then also Phil Parker being a semifinalist in the Broyles Award, and it's 15 really high-quality coaches, so just happy to see Phil and the job he's done for a long time be recognized, and keep our fingers crossed on that one. Just talk a little bit about last Saturday. I think the Illinois win was really emblematic of Big Ten football in November. Full team effort, full 60 minutes, the whole 9 yards, another close game. So just really proud of our guys and things that they did, especially in the last 15, 16 minutes. You think about getting the stop on third down. Great play by Castro coming in to get the quarterback and giving up a field goal instead of a touchdown. Certainly was pivotal at the end of the game, and two good last possessions by the defense, certainly to get off the field 2 times. Good punt return by Weegan, and then the offense taking advantage of that. And one of the few times in the second half we had decent field position and capitalized on that. And then the last possession, converted 3rd and 8 to be able to keep the ball and run the clock out. So it was just a really good job by the entire football team. And like I said, it was a full effort, and I'm guessing it'll be the same thing this week. Same type of game as we move to Nebraska. Captains are the same 4 guys as we've had the last couple of weeks. You got Joe and Jay, and then Logan Lee on the defensive side. Luke Lachey will represent the offense. Injury-wise, about the same, I guess, as last week for the most part. Looks like Deontay will not be able to make this one. Bo Stevens the same way. Deontay Vines and Bo Stevens. So outside of that, I think everybody's got a chance, and we'll just kind of see what that looks like. Short week here. Talking about Nebraska, first of all, just Coach Rule's done a great job. It's basically a new staff. I think one holdover from previous, and they've really done a great job in short amount of time. 5-6 right now, playing really good football. It's kind of interesting if you look at their schedule. They lost first 2 games, and we were through a transition here. It's been a while now, but it took us about 2 years. Took them 2 games to get things going. So they lost 2 games, won 5 out of the next 6. Really looked good, and now they've lost 3 straight. But you look at it, it's 2 3-point losses. Last week in overtime ended up being a 7-point game or a touchdown game. But so they're playing really well, playing competitively and doing a hell of a job. And I think the compliments certainly to the staff, but also their players. Their players have really done a good job. And got a lot of new faces, but they also have a lot of guys that have been there, and they're playing at a really high level. So it's a real compliment to them. And for us, it's going to be another tough challenge. It's a tough venue going over there. There will be 90,000, 89,000 people there. So it just looks to me like another Big Ten football game. It's going to be a tough challenge, and the team that plays that best will come out ahead, obviously. Last couple of things, it's a heroes game. Said many times, I think it's a great concept to recognize 2 citizens from both states, a citizen from each state, and just a really nice concept. I think the whole part about it's good. So as it turns out, we've got a guy, who's been a 25-year teacher up in Northwest Iowa. Everything I've heard just made tremendous impact, and I think 2 of the most underrated professions, probably law enforcement and teachers. And so just, happy to hear about that recognition. And then the other aspect. On the other side is just the kid captain. We got Nathan McDonald, who's a young guy from Delta, Iowa. Had a rare condition that was causing a lot of tumors. That's cleared up for him. Then he had surgery to repair scoliosis, and that's all, everything's moving forward for him right now. So he's been doing well for 5 years. I've been seizure-free, and we'll be thinking about him and his family, certainly on Saturday or Friday, and then just wrapping it up again. We've got a lot to play for. Certainly, anytime you play any game, conference game, there's a lot to play for, and we'd sure as heck like to get our 10th win, but we know it's not going to come easy over in Lincoln. So I look forward to that. Hopefully, we'll finish strong and play our best football of the season. I'll throw it out for questions.
Scott Docterman, The Athletic. Kirk, I wanted to ask you just about the strides that Deacon Hill has made. His first 3 starts, and then the Michigan State game, he completed it. He was right around 36% of his passes. He's kind of flipped that around to, I think, 63% the last 3 games. That's the huge strides. How much of that has to do with him just being more comfortable in his position versus you guys devising a plan to emphasize his strengths and get the ball out of his hands more quickly?
I think it's probably just a combination of both. And when we throw him in there, we all knew he had basically zero game experience. I've mentioned that. Scout team a couple of years up in Wisconsin, and then, really got his first work starting last spring with us. So it's been a process all the way through. Mentioned, his tempo wasn't the greatest, certainly in August, and a little concerned about that, but I think he's improved each and every week, and then got thrust in there the Michigan State week, certainly with, Cade going down. So it's been a long haul, and I think really the credit goes to him. It's everybody working with him, though, but I think, we know him better. He certainly has improved dramatically, and to me, the last 2 games, I'm on a huge stat guy. I knew the stats weren't great, and that reaffirms it, the suspicion, but I think it's just a credit to him sticking with it, just kept on going. Certainly his ball security's gotten better, too. That's the other part about it, which is important, and his awareness. And I thought the last 2 weeks he's made some really nice throws, some clutch plays, and probably goes back, go back to the 2-minute drill against Northwestern. That's really, we were hoping he'd come out of that with a little bit of confidence, because that was a good football play, certainly, and a big part of that game, that victory. So it's just been a process, and we're not out of the woods yet, certainly, but I just think I can't say enough about his attitude. Easy to get down, and that's a position where everybody notices. Everybody's got an opinion, and it wasn't going great. So he could have gone south on that one, but he stayed positive and kept working, and just nice to see him get rewarded a little bit, kind of like a little bit representative of our whole football team.
John Steppe, Cedar Rapids Gazette. From an injury standpoint, Logan Jones, how is his recovery progressing, and what's kind of his chances of playing on Friday?
Well, we'll see. It's one of those injuries that's not going to go away. He's not going to get 100% healthy. Maybe in the bowl game he'll have a chance to, but next couple of weeks that's not realistic. So it's improving weekly. That's the good news. And then if he does have a setback, he bounces back quicker. But to quantify it right now, probably can't do it, and probably be the same way next week too. We'll just keep inching along, but he's got a great attitude, and I know he wants to be out there.
David Eichholt, 24/7 Sports. Kirk, Matt Rule, during his press conference yesterday, said that, when you guys get in games that are 7-3, 10-9, Iowa's heart rate doesn't go up. I guess what can you attribute the comfort level of your guys when they kind of get thrust in those close games? Because it really doesn't seem like they panic.
Yeah, I think as much as anything, it's just kind of the neighborhood we live in, and wouldn't mind trying a different neighborhood at times, but we aren't, when we get there, it just doesn't seem to last long. It's the nature of, and it was pretty much the same way in the 80s, a lot of close games, and if we're going to, beat teams that are, there's a lot of parallels between all of us, I guess, in conference play, with the exception of a couple. So, the first thing is that you got to be in a game and to win it, and then if you can be in the fourth quarter, you got a shot to win it. So it's just kind of the way we're built, and some years are better than others. Some teams are better at it than others, and the ones that are a little bit proficient and have a chance to be successful, and this team's proven to be that way. So, again, it just circles back to the players, guys that believe in what we're doing and believe that, games are full 60s, and, if they'll just stick with it, maybe something good will happen. Last Saturday's a good example of that, and, 2 weeks ago up in Wrigley Field, kind of the same deal. And really, the week in between, the score ended up being better, but it was, it could have gone either way, too, there for quite a while. So, I guess we're used to it, I guess, and as long as you're coming out on the plus side more than not, that's a good thing.
Chad Leistico, Des Moines Register. Obviously, you're joking when you're talking about resting the starters this week. That's not in the plans.
NFL flashback.
I know, I'm just kidding. But a lot of the guys talked about the importance of getting a 10-win regular season. There are a lot of programs that have never won 10 games. You've done it 7 times. This could be your 8th, I believe. But only 4 have done it in the regular seasons. I guess, can you speak to the importance of that and what your message is to the team?
Yeah, I was joking, wholeheartedly joking on Saturday. And when I was in the NFL, we were never in a position to sit anybody down. I mean, we were always fighting for our lives there, too. So, I've always looked at, every game is important, and I know it's not always that way. When I coached at Worcester Academy, that was the most important thing going on at that given time when we played, and I think it's just how people are wired. So, we have every intention of doing all we can to win Friday, knowing it's going to be really tough. And then, to the other part, I think people, with all due respect, but I think people don't understand just how tough it is to win games at any level. I had to jump in my car a week ago yesterday, right? 8 days ago. I had to run out and do something real quick, and Brady was on. They got that show, apparently, him and Jim Gray. And there's about a 60-second clip in there where you wonder why this guy's the greatest, just talked about just how everything is so close in the NFL and just people don't appreciate what it takes. Talked about and the team he played for is going through a tough spell right now, but he said, it's an organizational thing. Like when teams win, there are a lot of people involved, and the same thing when they lose. So it's a big picture there, and talked about the NFL where everything's geared to bringing you back towards the middle. And, in college football, it's kind of the same way. It's hard. It's hard to win games. And I think sometimes we get a little spoiled and we think it's going to be easy or, we've done this before, so we'll do it again. It just doesn't work that way. It's really competitive. Nebraska's a great illustration. They haven't been to a bowl game, right? A long time, I guess. I don't know how long it's been, but they're playing like a bowl team right now. They're playing really well. So, I think it's just sometimes we all lose sight about how tough it is and how many things have to go right for you to win. And I guess, I can't think of too many times, at least hopefully, where I've ever assumed things are going to happen. It's usually pretty tough. So if we could get 10th, that'd be really special. But it's not going to be easy, that's for sure.
Blake Hornstein, Hawkeye headquarters. A little two-parter for you. One, are you familiar with Clint Eastwood by chance?
Clint Eastwood?
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And then the second part of the question, of course, is, sometimes on these road games, it seems like you'll stand in front of the team before the swarm and you got the look, you've got the stare down a little bit. It seems like the guys kind of get fired up from that, some of the coaches too. Is there a little bit of a Clint Eastwood element to that in terms of intimidation or just getting the guys ready to rock and roll?
I just do what I do. I know I don't beat my chest. I'm pretty sure I don't do that. I don't carry the flag coming out or, lead the team. It's a player's game. It's a player's game. Whatever, the way our guys walk on, they're incredibly slow. So, I turn around, they're like way the hell back there. It's not intentional, but you just get out there and what else you going to do? But no, I don't know what I look like or any of that stuff. It's not an act of bravado or I'm not Clint Eastwood, I guarantee you. Yeah. I wish I was. Except he's older than I am, so maybe I wish I wasn't, but.
Hey, Kirk, Elliot Clough, Rivals, no movie references from me. Talking about the injury to Cooper last week.
It's the first time I've ever been compared to Clint Eastwood. That's good. Okay.
So, talking about the injury to Cooper, obviously devastating, but team came out, was physical, and won the game, and obviously, you don't want to run into situations like that. But what kind of challenges does that present for the defense as a whole when you lose an All-American guy like that? And to follow up on that, I know John Nestor moved up into the two deeps. Yep. What have you seen from him? Xavier Wampa compared him to Riley Moss. So, John's just a football guy. Start there. He's just a football guy. He's got a temperament a little bit like Phil's, so it was kind of love at first sight, the two of those guys. But he likes playing football, and he goes hard. He's been playing some special teams. So, he might be in the Army here pretty soon. You never know. And then to the other point, it's two Wednesdays in a row we lost, starter, actually. Stilianos got hurt the week before. Missed him for that middle game, Rutgers game.
And anytime you lose anybody, it's just, we're not deep enough to not be affected by it. Then we talk about a guy like Cooper, who is not only a good corner, but he's one of the best in the country, and then he's also one of the best, if not the best, returners in the country. So, and then beyond that, what he means to our team emotionally, and just, guys that are really good players, add that component. If there was a blessing in this whole thing, there's probably two. His recovery will be very predictable and very clean, and, hate to use the word routine, but, routine my ass, right? Because it's a couple of months here, but he'll be fine. And that's the good news. The other good news was it happened Wednesday, so we had some time to emotionally recover, because it impacted everybody. You could feel it that day on the practice field. So the team, moved on from that. They did a great job there. But it does, it hurts anytime you lose one of your top guys. And I say top, not just a player, but a top guy, one of our leaders. But then, Jamari stepped out there, and I think he played his best game as a Hawkeye last Friday or Saturday. And Deshaun back from injury, and, he really played a good game too. So you're not going to replace a player like him with one guy. It's just got to be a team effort. Everybody's got to amp it up a little bit, and that's the only way you can overcome losing some guys. And we've done the same thing offensively. We've lost some key guys there, but the season wasn't going to get canceled, and we just kept going. Deacon's improved. Addison's doing a really nice job. That tight end group's really doing a good job, and you're not going to replace two guys like we lost, but they're doing their jobs and really doing well. And some other guys are starting to emerge too. So that's how you keep moving forward.
John Seppi, Cedar Rapids Gazette. Tyler Ellsbury, a guy who's played at guard before, almost used them at tackle earlier this year, now at center. How much of an asset has he been to have a guy that you can call on in a situation like this?
Same story. I mean, you lose Logan Jones, who's one of our best players and one of our best guys, to a core guy. So you lose that, and you wonder, how many of these, pings can we keep taking here? And as I said the other night, me personally, I think Tyler's been capable of this, but now hopefully he's seeing himself for himself that he can do this, because I think there's a little shadow of doubt somewhere in the back there. And at some point you got to get in the water and swim, and he's done that very, very well. And it's a tough position to play. So just a lot of credit to him. You touched on, he's one of the few guys that we've had that could probably play all five positions. That's really rare. But the thing that was lacking for him was that confidence, in my opinion. And, I'm not saying he's there yet, but he sure should be further down the road now. Yep.
Tyler Tashman with the Des Moines Register. It seems like there's a lot of just interesting personalities on the O-line. I guess how would you just describe the kind of dynamic of that group?
Yeah, offensive lines tend to be like that. You always they're a different group. Different group just by nature of their position. First of all, they don't get a lot of credit. They get a lot of blame, but they don't get a lot of credit. And they've been, it's been really fun to watch these guys grow, develop. It hasn't been smooth for us the last couple of years, and I think now we're starting to get some traction. So I think they're taking a lot of pride in that and feeling good about that. But they have a lot of fun together. They kind of spend a lot of time collectively as a group. You think about it, it's kind of like coaching a basketball team. You got five guys out on the field, a lot of coordination between them, and then the key reserves. You usually got 8, 9, 7 guys that are interchangeable, if you will, that way. So, and then younger guys are learning from those guys. So it's kind of a neat little society amongst the team, if you will. And they all got different personalities for sure, but I think they have fun together.
Mitch Fick, KGAN, was told by Mason today, speaking of the O-line and personalities, what Dejan has brought to that room. Transfers in from Saginaw Valley, has all the experience in the world, hasn't been on the field a ton. Yep. He tweeted out right after the game Saturday, best decision of my life, I think referring to the program. When you hear a player who hasn't been on the field as much and probably expected to be, still have that sentiment, what does that mean to you as a coach?
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Dejan, but I think he is enjoying this, and I'm glad to hear that. And then that's kind of my read on it. We're equally or maybe more so glad that he came here. And it's kind of interesting going back to December, January, the portal, it's a new sport now. So, evaluating some guys and looking at them, and both George and I were in agreement. We really like this guy an awful lot. He's playing Division II football, but so did Van Valkenburg and a couple other guys we got. And just liked him. And then when he came out to visit campus, we were very, very impressed with him. And the sad part is, he's had some injuries that he's been dealing with basically since he got here. that haven't allowed him to play the way I think he's capable of. But his attitude's never changed, and it's hard when you're not playing. It's harder when injuries have kind of basically kept you out of the lineup, if you will. So, but the thing that hasn't changed is his attitude's been great. He's brought a lot to our team. Brought a lot to that group, maturity, and Rusty Fett the same way. So you got a couple guys a little bit older, have been through some other things that maybe the younger guys haven't, and that's really valuable. Remember in 1994 when I was in Cleveland, we had a really young group that was getting ready to become pretty good, and one of our key guys was a guy named Doug Dawson. We got from Houston. Probably, I don't know, 36, 37. He had arms about as long as mine. But, man, he was a competitor and smart, and he taught those guys how to act and how to be pros, the young guys in the room. So sometimes it's not always about getting the marquee player, but getting guys that really add to the mental part of things. And just, older guys have to teach younger guys, and Dejan's been first class that way.
Owen Sebring with KGAN. I want to get a throwback for a second. That we asked Cooper DeJean about what he thought about Clint Eastwood, and he said he'd never heard of the man, had no idea who we were even talking about. So, nevertheless, maybe some.
I think they've heard of Brady. Johnny Unitas, no way. No way.
I wanted to ask about Phil Parker. You mentioned him in your opening statements. Just a guy who's a semifinalist now for the Broyles Award. What he means to you, what he means to this team, this program. An assistant coach maybe doesn't get all the recognition, the accolades as a head coach, but how much he means and how much he's brought to the University of Iowa.
Yeah, I swear to God, this is true. All right, I'm not making this up, but when I was an assistant here in the 80s, certain guys just kind of jump out at you, players. And Michigan State was a team I was in charge of scouting. So I followed them through whatever it was, East Lansing Journal, I believe. And, oh, God, I'm brain farting. The guy's got the radio show up there. Jack Ebling was the writer. But anyway, I followed their team really closely, and when we played them, they were a tough defensive ball club. And that's kind of my connection to Norm, if you will, because Norm was part of that staff. But I always watched Phil Parker back there in the back end, and he always reminded me of a Stoops, like he could be a cousin of the Stoops family, and if he came here, he'd have to be a Stoops. So there have been four of them starting at safety, but they were so similar, and just an outsider looking in, but he was a smart player, a tough player. He was a three-time All-Big Ten player, and that's really hard to do. Guys throw terms around. There aren't many guys that were three-time All-Big Ten, and I don't think he was a combine guy, but boy, he was a football player. And I just kind of followed him for whatever reason. So, move on. He got done coaching. He went to Toledo, first full-time job. It's the only job he had until he came here. And I didn't hire Norm with this in mind, but after we made the decision to make Norm our coordinator, we started talking about secondary coaches, first position you talk about. And he brought up Phil's name, and I was like, let's I'm all for it. Let's bring him in here. So and that was based on what, just watching the guy and how he operated. And I personally like the fact that he was a stable guy, like he wasn't jumping around this job, that job. So, it worked out really well. And long story short, we've had two coordinators in 25 years. And I go back to my time here. I think one of the great unsung heroes of our program under Coach Rye was Bill Brazier. And as an assistant, I fully appreciated the value of assistants. One guy can't coach a football team. It's not like a basketball team. You got 100-plus players. So if you don't have a strong staff, you're dead in the water. And Phil's been great as an assistant. He's the best secondary coach I've ever worked with, bar none. And now as a coordinator, he's been fantastic too. So we're really lucky. I mean, we got a really good coaching staff. We got a bunch of guys that care about the right things. They're team guys, not me guys, and which is what I had here in the 80s when I was an assistant. We just had a great working relationship and environment, and it's huge. So I'm so appreciative that Phil's been here all this time, and can't say enough about the job he does. If he was here right now, he'd tell you it's his whole staff, and that's true too. So somebody's got to lead them though. Yep.
Scott Docterman with The Athletic. I wanted to ask you about Caleb Brown. And was there a point when the light turned on for him, or was it just a matter of once he got the opportunity, he made the most of it? Because 14 targets, 10 catches the last 2 weeks has been incredibly productive. Yeah, I don't think it's accidental, and I think it's been a process, and it's kind of not the same as Deacon, but similar. And I think I said this a couple months ago. You consider him, he was a good prospect out of high school, but he's a running back. He's going to be a conversion guy, go to receiver. There's no doubt in my mind that's where he belongs. He'd probably be a good back too, though. But he was okay. Like in August, he was okay. I mean, he was good, but not. Right now, he's playing really well, and I think it's just a tribute to his hard work. He's really paid attention.
he's got good ability, but he works hard. He's smart, and I think right now it's just starting to make sense to him. Like, it feels like, okay, I should be doing this and all that, whereas I'm not sure it was that way in September or August. So again, that's the fun part about coaching, is watching guys push away, whether it's Ellsbury, Deacon. They're pushing, and then all of a sudden they start having success. And I was teasing, I actually walked in with him this morning and said, must be good to, have a chance to be a good player. I wouldn't know. I never had that kind of ability, but it must be fun. And I assume you're having a little fun. He said he was, but that's the fun of it. But they gotta figure it out. They gotta learn it and get a taste of it. And then I think if they're football players, they kind of like that. And I think he's on that path right now.
David Eichholt, 24/7 Sports. Kirk, throughout your career, we've have these 4th and 5th year guys that really don't play a lot. Then as their last year, they just play some of the best football, all conference caliber football. With NIL, with the transfer portal, kind of with everything else, feels like it's a very much instant gratification era of college athletics. But it seems like with you and your team, there's just they trust the process and the long-term plan that you guys have set in place. So I guess given everything that's happening in college athletics, how have you kind of sustained that culture of these kids understanding that there is a bigger plan in place, just need to wait for your time to kind of break out?
Yeah, a couple thoughts. It's a little harder now, no question. If you're a parent or a teacher, start with parents, a lot bigger group. It's a tougher time to be a parent or a teacher or a coach, because we're not really advertising some of those things, those values of like working hard, sticking with it, all the stuff that a lot of us grew up hearing from various people we respected. So it's a little tougher to and with all the ESPN coverage and all that. And in fact, I was making a comment to a couple guys on the staff this morning. I was looking through there and saw 3 faces on that little, on that thing on the left of your ESPN site, where they get the videos. 3 guys that are basically coach killers or player killers, that are just like, all they're trying to do is stir up controversy. So that's kind of what's out there now for people to take in. You wonder why there's so much negativity. But I learned a lot during the 80s, and one takeaway I took was, I coached 3 guys, I being the line coach, 3 guys that started for us in the 80s that all ended up being NFL players that didn't start till their 5th year. And Chris Campbell came into camp second team. And I remember Bruce Kittle was advocating for him. I said, well, if you love him so much, you coach him. Should have kept my mouth shut, because he ended up starting. He won a job in camp and got drafted 3rd round by the Colts. But, 3 guys that had, NFL careers. Brett Miller didn't start till a senior in '82, and Ron Hallstrom never played a lick, and then 1st round draft pick, 13-year NFL career. So the lesson there was guys develop and they hit stride anytime in their careers, and you just track any college player, but certainly in our program. I think my takeaway was, as long as a guy will work hard and just keep trying to get better. You just never know when a guy's going to hit stride, and some do, some don't. But it's all about what you do in investment. And those are lessons that are a little tougher to sell right now. But then I can flip it around too, and then you go to the NIL and the portal. Rusty Feth didn't make any headlines when we got him to commit here, but boy, he's been an extremely valuable player. Not only on the field, but also, again, the maturity and just kind of giving that room a little confidence, because they needed that. And so I think there's opportunity if we're looking for the right guys. Nick Jackson, you talk about a home run there. Really good player, productive player in college, but also a really good guy who's, again, just one of those guys, you get him in the room with other guys that are younger. Pay attention to him, because he knows how to operate, and that's what you're looking for, guys that are going to be teaching other guys this is how you do things the right way, whether they're just here for a year or preferably 4 years. That'd be even better, but that's what you're hoping for.
Time for 3 more. Chad, John, and Matt.
Awesome. Chad Leistico, Des Moines Register. A couple quick injury follows for my real question. Is Parker's injury enough where he could do a medical, or is that not quite like that?
I think he's out of years. Yeah, he's a little bit older.
Does he have any chance for Indy?
No, Indy, no.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. He's out of the booth, though. He doesn't, have the buzz of the clown shoe anymore, so that's good.
All right, and my question is, you mentioned you were extending the 24-hour rule. What did you see from a response, like, say, Sunday, from the guys? Was it business as usual, like what you wanted to see, I guess?
I wouldn't have done it if I wasn't confident that these guys can handle it. They've really this team's changed so much since September. And, yeah, we were playing statistically good defense back then, but we're playing so much better now. And that, I mean, that's game to game, too. We got another challenge here. But the whole team has just improved and grown. And, you know, you develop a level of trust with anybody, and the team's the same way. So, first of all, they earned it, and then secondly, I figured they could handle it. And, you know, we used to do that a lot back in 2002, Hawkeye Sundays, you know, and just kept cutting the times down and rewarding guys for, you know, for working hard. And these guys have earned that. But, no, they were 100% on task Monday morning we came in, so that's really all you need. Yep.
John Steffi, Cedar Rapids Gazette. Along those lines, is there anything that you have to do even to really maintain that sense of urgency, or is it just kind of an automatic thing?
It depends on the team, you know, and I may be wrong right now, but one thing I'll be surprised if we're not focused and play hard on Friday. And part of that survival instinct, because we have no other choice. We're not going to line up and just beat people. Like, we can't do that, and our guys know that. And I don't mean that in a negative way, because that's normally I'll go back to 02. I mean, that's the one year we had it rolling. But, you know, we needed 2 red zone picks. I think Steen got both of them against Indiana, who hadn't won a game. So, I mean, that's conference football. As soon as you start thinking you got to figure it out or you're good, at least here, like that doesn't work so well. And there are a couple places maybe in the country where you can get away with that and still turn it on at the end. But, boy, I'll tell you, if we're in that situation, it's not good. So I think our guys know that.
Matt McGowan, the Daily Iowan. So what do you remember from Deshaun Lee's recruitment, and what was your first impression of him, and how has he grown?
Deshaun Lee?
Yeah.
First impression, not very tall. But I can say the same thing about Jovan Johnson. The difference is Deshaun wasn't talking from the time he walked in. Jovan walked in talking, and he left here talking. He sent me a very nice text on Saturday. Still talking, but proud to be a Hawkeye. And but the other thing I remember about him was, like, he got his hands on the ball every day in practice, so he backed it up. He was a really good player. And Deshaun's done a really nice job, too. It took him a while to get his feet on the ground, but he's really developed in. And when Jamari was out early in the season, stepped in and did a great job. And I thought he did a really nice job Saturday. And we're going to need him down the stretch, and I'm confident he's ready for that. He's serious about it. He studies and works hard. And those guys all, you know, that's a good room. Those guys all take a lot of pride in what they do as a group. Okay, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It'll be a quick one. See you guys. See ya. Yeah, I know.